Okay, good morning. Koyach Tishrei. Koyach is 28, power, the power of Tishrei. Gadol Torah shemei be refuah, l'kol chai, great is Torah, it brings healing to all living things. Who needs a refuah?
Baruch Benjamin ben Rachelblema, Yehudis Golda Basali Zahana, Haim Yaakov Zev ben Sarah, Yosef Yitzhak ben Lior, Shoshana Bashana, Gary Robert, son of George, Yaakov Shaul ben Hana Miriam, Yehudit Gila Bas Rachelea, and Hinda Yehudis Bas Keli.
Refuah shlema b'korev. Rabbi Yitzhak Fivish ben Braina Malka, refuah shlema b'korev.
Amen.
Who else? Okay. Yom Yom. What's today? 28th. So the Torah says, Im b'chuchaysai seileiku. Right, it's a partial later. If you follow my statutes. So if you follow my statutes, well, the continuation is, I will give your rains in their season, etc. So he says, Torah study and mitzvah observance are the wedding ring with which God betrothed Israel and obligated himself to provide them with sustenance and livelihood. Having just come from a chasana last night where the kestuva was read, you know that the husband is obligated in certain ways to support the wife. So God is the husband, we're the wife, and therefore the Torah, mitzvahs, which are the wedding ring, which circumscribes, surrounds, and seals the deal, obligates God. Hashem is obligated to bring the Geula Shlema, amongst other things. Lessons in Tanya? Continuing our story of how godliness gets invested in gullus, and then by implication and maybe even by explication, how that gets turned around. So we're in the middle of this, and Lessons in Tanya, top of page 92, and in the Kuti Amorim, we are in the middle, well, top third of page 278. If you're looking there, you're counting down from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines down from the top. Okay. So we have been in the middle of a top-down discussion, elucidation of how the infinite gets enclosed in the finite. And enclosed is the word in English that's translated hislabshus. And that's important because hislabshus is one way, it's called enclosed, like I put on my clothing, right? And that gives a certain personality to myself. If I'm wearing, a blue suit with a necktie, that's one persona. If I'm wearing a kittel, that's another persona. So we'll just say, I'm using this as a metaphor, that the simplicity and allness of God becomes personified, various personae, through this process called hislabshus, enclosement of divinity in various levels. And we've been describing here the levels starting from Atzilus and going on down to the world of Asiya. Each level being a more, one word, contracted. That's the word tzimtzum. You may have heard that expression before. There are many tzimtzumim, many contractions. He contracts the lights. He covers the lights. That's another. He puts the light through curtains. That's another metaphor. And that's the process we've been describing till now. We're going to further with that as we get down close to today, which is how that godly flow gets invested in what we call the klippas. The klippas are a shell, right? That's what the klippa, like if in Hebrew, the covering of an orange is a klippa. And a shell, or the covering, is rather impervious. It's hard. And using that idea, we will explain the notion of how godliness gets enclosed in the three unclean klippas and the klippas noiga, which is the light klippa. So it's beginning our descent into the klippas, explanation of God's descent into the klippas. Okay. So he says, Ella, having discussed the flow of Kedusha, of holy light, from one level down, from Atzilus down to this world, into the dirt and water of this world. However, Sheba Artses Ha'oivdei Gilulim, in the lands of those who are idol worshippers, Achayesu Agidei Hislapshus Sorim Chitsoinium, the enclothement of divinity, divine energy, or light, divine light, is into external princes, literally, like, prince and princesses, high-level officials. Well, really not high-level official. The prince is really a descendant, is in the family. But the light goes through these external princes, Hamamoinim Agideha Umis, which are appointed over the nations. Every nation has a Tsar, a prince, which is the concentration of godly energy, which is designed particularly for that particular kingdom, that particular level. Ahainu, and what is this Sorim, these princes, these external princes? So this is a way of discussing and metaphorizing the light of God. Sheyored nitzutz midavar Hashem. This is describing the descent of the spark of God's word, Hanikra b'shem Malchus of Asiya, which is called, and we said this yesterday, Malchus of Asiya, which is the Shekhinah as it manifests, as she manifests in this world. Umer al hasorim, and this light shines over these princes. I'm emphasizing this, and we'll explain that in a minute. Over the princes, Shalmaila, these spiritual condensations of energy, which we call the princes. So this light shines over them, the bechinas makif milamaila, in a manner which is called hovering from above. And I think the easiest way to understand hovering from above is to contrast it with the word that's opposite makif, which is penimi. Penimi, makif is encompassing from around. Penimi is invested inside. So when the light is a penimius, it takes the shape and gives a shape to the innards, the inside of the thing, and it becomes integrated with the inside of the thing. So holiness, God's light becomes integrated in things which are things of kedusha, of holiness, because the light becomes a penimius. In contrast, makif it lacks this integration. So therefore, stuff that's empowered by makif lacks an internal sense of God's divinity. It's aware that it's alive, but it doesn't have that close relationship to feel the divinity as part of its life. So that's sort of operationally what it means to be empowered by the makif, not to have integration of divinity felt within you. So it's makif. So the metaphor is it's encompassing from above. It's not integrated. As he says, in other words, what he means to say by makif from above, it means that it's not enclosed in them, mamish, but there's drawn from the light of Kedusha, has drawn a life force from this ha'ora, from this radiation, which is now a makif radiation, shemer aleihem, again, which radiates over them, it's not integrated within them from above, b'bechinas makif, in a way that we call encompassing. Umehasorim, so that's where, so Kedusha shines out, and it gives rise, this is talking about the klippas, the origin of the klippas, it gives rise to these princes, constellations or concentrations of light, but which is makif, which is not pinimi. So divinity is enlivening them, for sure. They have lots of life, the klippas, but they don't have the inner sense of divinity that's present in that light. Umehasorim, and so that first, concentration point is called a sar, a prince, a spiritual concentration of that kind of light. And from those princes flows the life to the nations of the world, the ones who serve idols, and to their animals of the domesticated animals, the bovine animals, the cattle, and the wild animals, and the birds in their lands. And it gets down into the physical earth of those lands, which are being empowered by the iron sword. There are 70, by the way, 70 nations, 70 sorim, 70 concentrations of external makiftika energy. And it flows down through all aspects of those lands, ula shamayim hagashmiyim, and also it flows into the heavens, the physical heavens, shehem hagalgalim, which are the orbits of all the planets and the spheres. However, now we're going to split this klipadika, shell kind of, makif kind of energy in two. He says, however, the heaven and the earth and the animals, the cattle and the wild animals and the birds, which are toher, which are pure, right? In other words, kosher animals, nishboy meklipis noiga. They come from a klippus which is called a light klippa. Light meaning two things. It's light as in, light like a balloon is light. It's not heavy. It's not a heavy klippa, and it's not a thick klippa. So therefore, a sense of divinity is enclosed in them, and that sense of divinity since it's a light klippa, it's not heavy and it's not encasing like metal, it can be easily released, that divinity, and expressed, that divinity which is within them, and that's the positive mitzvahs, where we interact with the things which are permitted to us, which means they're being enlivened by klippas naiga, a light klippa, and we utilize them and free the divinity which is there by doing mitzvahs with them. And then you have the other class of klippas, which is Gimel, 3 totally unclean klippas, which are tameim, which are impure. So back to the flow of the sentence, so this klippadika kind of energy, this makif kind of energy flows into the animals which are pure, and which we call klippas noiga, and the impure, and the foshes of the gilgulim, mishar klippas, and also the souls of the ones who are serving idols. And this is a heavy klipper, tamei klipper, different than the other klippers. So heaven and earth, for kol asher bahem, and everything which is in them, the artses of the gilgulim, in the lands of the idol worshippers, kulam kalei mamish chashivi, they are considered like nothing, lagabi hasorim shehem chiyusim v'kiyumim. So that was the flow from top down. Now we're going bottom up. Starting from these lands are empowered. Their proximate source of life is the klippa from the sorim, right? These constellations of energy, which we call the princes. Now, if you start there and go upward, back up toward godliness, the hasorim, these princes, they're kalai mamish hashivi. They're considered like nothing. Lagabi achayes hanimshach lahem, in relation to the life force which is drawn to them, mehanitzis midavar Hashem, from the spark of the speech of Hashem, which, remember, the speech of Hashem is called Shekhinah, right? So if the Shekhinah gets enclosed in a makiftika way in the Isurim, this is the beginning of what we call Shekhinah Bigaluta, the Shekhinah in exile. And this is why he's pointing this out, because these princes, which are constellations of Klippa, their source is like the source of everything, the Devar Hashem, which is the Shekhinah. And that Shekhinah, Hamer Alehem Elamayla, is shining to them, but only in a makiftika way, as we said earlier, explaining makif. Nevertheless, the life force which is drawn to them from this radiation of the Devar Hashem, or the Shekhinah, hu bechinas galus b'soicha. It's in a state of exile in them, because it's not panemius. It's not divinity integrated. It's divinity sort of at the periphery. That's makif. Therefore, they're called other gods. In other words, I'm not sure he's going to explain this, but I'll explain it the way it's explained in other places. Elakim acherim. So Elakim is, of course, a name for God. Elakah, godliness, Elakim, God. And it connotes a big contraction, a big concealment. And acher means other, but it also means the backside. They're getting their force, their life force, as it were, from the backside. So therefore, they're called Elakim Acherim. They're getting life from that source of divinity, which is contracted, Elakim. That's number one. But so everything's getting, right? Havai Elakim is used all the time. Anything to be created has to go through some kind of contraction and diminishing of the light, which we call Elakim. But this is Elakim Acherim, which is other gods, or a light force which is coming, as it were, from thrown over God's back, from his backside, rather than his panim, which is panemius, his face. And they recognize divinity, but it's sort of at a distance. They call him the God of gods. Because these sorim, these concentrations of divinity, are godliness. Because everything is godliness. Yeah, they are elikus. But there, as we said, but it's an elikus in a makif, only peripherally, are not absorbed panemiously kind of way. Therefore, the ones who serve the idols, which come and derive from them, they serve actually other gods. Ad ein kates, and that will be the case. That will be the case. C-A-S-E, ad ein kates, until the end. Sheyavula hamavis v'hasiter achra, when death and the other side will be completely swallowed up. The oz, and then, as the prophet says, ehafach el amim, there will be a transformation of the nations. Likre kulam b'shem Hashem Havaya, and all of them will call the name Havaya. Havaya, of course, is the deeper, the more panemius level of God, Yud Ke Vav Ke, as opposed to Elakim. And in the future, that darkness will be swallowed up, and the light will be revealed, and everybody, all humanity, this is from the prophets, will call to the name of Hashem. This I'm at the top of page Kuf Mem. V'nikra gam came b'shem galus hashechina, and the state before that, where the life force is in a makif, right, encompassing, not panemius way, right, and therefore it's compared to a shell, a klippa, but it's being empowered by the Devar Hashem, as everything is, which is the Shekhinah. So that state that I just described is called b'shem galus hashechina, exile of the Shekhinah. Why? Because the life force, this life force, which is in a manner of exile, within them, in other words, not panemius, after all, is coming from a ray which is drawn to them, from a spark of the so-called speech of Hashem, which is called the divine presence. So this is the divine presence of Shekhinah in exile. And this exile state, by the way, is Nimshat Mechet Eitzedas. It began, this darkness, this thickness, this makif kind of manner we've been describing, began with the sin of the tree of knowledge, and it developed and went further. Here he does say, Acher, like Elokim Acherin. And this is from the backside only of Kedusha. Of course, that's a metaphor. From the backside and not the panemius. The panim, remember, word, I say this often because it's important. The word panemius, which is inner, is the at root panim, which is face. Right? It's not from the face, the front side, it's from the backside. So this is what's going on in the epochs of Gullus, when the Shekhinah is in Gullus, and when the Jewish people were exiled, lebein ha'umes, amongst the nations, ve'achizis Israel v'shor shom hu be'v'chinas panim elyonim, and remember the place where the Jewish people and the Nefesh Elokis gets its life from is not the backside, it's the front side, which is panim, the face, the supernal face. So when we went into exile, in Ezehi Galish Shlema, this is a complete exile, because the spark, the revealed spark of godliness, the Nefesh Elokis in the Jew, is being schlepped. Imagine, I could just imagine the lithographs or paintings you've seen of the Jews being put in chains and walking and being drawn and dragged, the Jews, us, out of one place into another state of exile. So the godly spark that's within us has been drawn into exile. Our bodies, our souls go with our body. They can't be left behind. So we are also tainted, not the best word, but affected, certainly affected by the Gullus. And this is called Gullus Shlema, because the panemius, which is the Jewish soul, the Nefesh Elokis, is being schlepped into the klippas. And on this, the sages have said, when we were exiled into Rome, the divine presence went with them, that is, with us. All right, that's the skinny on how godliness becomes invested in exile. That's today's Tanya. Comment, question? Nope, everybody's good? Yeah? Okay, ubechein. Therefore? Yes, I don't, let's see, who's that? Kinder Deborah, go. Oh, no, just a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. Therefore, well, I'll give you therefore.
Wait.
Yeah, I will. I'd rather wait and hear from you. Go.
No, because I have a question before we end this thing. So the Jewish people, when they are in Gullus, in the Umas Ha'olam,
Shechina imohem. Shechina goes with them into Gullus. It can't not, because it's Devar Hashem. So
how is it connected to the Umos Ha'olam's, the highest that they get from Acharon?
The Umos Ha'olam are naturally this way, right? Their life force is coming from the klippas, either klippas Neiger or Gilma klippas of Timaeus. We our natural life is not a makiftika life. It's a panemius life. And what happens is that panemius gets schlepped into the klippas. And the klippas affect us to such an extent that our whole raison d'etre is to break through the klippas and release the life force that's within them. So we have to be there, right? You have to, if you're going to be given a assignment, which we have been, right, to make a dwelling place for Hashem, dafka in the lower worlds, where the lower worlds are, particularly the worlds we live in now, are covered with klippa. We have to break through the klippa. And we have that within us. We have that nefesh elokis power to do so. But as long as it remains covered over, that nefesh elokis power is in galus.
So when a Jew who's makif pnimi, he goes into galus of a nation that's makif milamala.
Well, wait a minute. Makif and pnimi are opposites, right? He goes into a nation which is being enlivened by the makif.
Makif milamala. But you said that a Jewish person, he has a
panemi.
A panemi. So when he goes into a nation, in one of the nations of the makif milamala, he stays. So his highest comes from the highest of the nations.
No, he's the Shekhinah. The last one, the Shekhinah goes with him, right? The divine. He doesn't get converted. Some do, but he doesn't get converted. He's trapped. He's in prison, and he has to break through. And he has the power. They don't. He has the power to break through because he has a panemi. They don't have a panemi. Yeah.
So he has a power to break through the
hashpah. The klippa, yeah, the hashpah.
So
yes, we have the power to break through. That's called geula.
And that's why we're in galus to begin with, because
you got it. That's why we're in galus.
Do we know who the 70 nations are? Is there like a list?
Yeah, there is. I can't name them all, but they start with the root ones: Mitzrayim, Bavel, Rome, Edom. They all come from the what came out of the 70 or the princes of Edom, the princes of Edom and the princes of Mitzrayim and Persia, all those exiles that we do know, the Persians, the Egyptians, etc. Now, whether that corresponds to the modern day ones, I'm not going to. I have no idea. I mean, how that corresponds goes, I don't know. But yeah, so we do. There is a list of them. Have I ever seen all 70 of them? No, but I would imagine it exists, but I don't know. But certainly the ones that were named, they're named in Galus Mitzrayim, Galus Edom, Purim is the Galus of Persia.
That's just a handful that we know of.
Yeah. That I know of and that you know, but they may be listed somewhere. But certainly we're under the dominion of them in this place that we are. That's for sure. We just have to look at what's going on in the world. But we have the power to change the world. We have the panemius within us to break through. Edel, Roisa.
Yeah, hi. So I don't know if this connects or not, but this is what my heart was telling me. During the actually on October 7th, it was, I was in Staten Island leading a challah event with a group that most of them don't know how to say a bracha. And I brought the bracha transliterated for them to say, and I translated what I would normally say in Hebrew into English, but then I abridged it further because I didn't think that they'd want it to be very long. And I was so taken that this group, that many aren't Shomer Shabbos. I would say, I don't know. They didn't tell me if they are or they aren't, but they were so clearly and yet there was such a dedication in the room. There was such a, what you're talking about, like, I don't know, to me it looked like the pneumius was so strong.
Yeah.
The pneumius was so strong. The focus of the group, the wanting, the thirst was so strong. I mean, I saw this firsthand. Right. And I even, like, the person who organized it said, thank you so much. It was so elevated. I said the group was elevated. I don't care if they're dressed very differently than I am. Like, there wasn't a skirt in the room besides mine. But the focus was so strong. The light in the darkness was so strong. That's only, it's like a fire.
That's the Nefesh Elokis. That's what we're seeing all over in the soldiers. You could say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Multiply it times 1,000. These folks who were vocally atheistic. I mean, we all seen them. You remember I can, there's so many of these videos going through. I'm not going to go through them, but we all seen them, and you all know, and they're in front of our eyes. People who are standing, soldiers standing, and a shliach or a rabbi starts the Shema, and one guy, covers his head with his arm instinctively. That's the Nefesh Elokis. That's the power to break through, which is in every single Jew. And that's why we have been created, to break through the klippas. And, there's a big secret that's not on this page, but it's a secret that we've discussed and it's been told before. The klippas come from a very deep, deep, deep dimension. They're shards, remember, broken shards from the world of Tohu. Huge, huge lights are invested in the power of that's contained and confined in exile. And when we break through that klippa, that's the mila, the advantage of the light which comes from darkness. That's the advantage of the experience of Geula over the original state where the original light was clear and obvious. The breakthrough, the power breakthrough. And you never know what's going to light the fire, whether it's the need to survival, or whether it's someone like Rosa coming into the room and teaching them how to say brachas. But the fire is there, ready to burn through the klippas.
So I appreciate that last sentence that you said. Like, that's how it looks to me. When we talk about Galus HaShechina, is that the Shechina is there ready to break through. And don't look at people superficially.
There you go. We got a beautiful takeaway. The Shekhinah is there in every one of us. Don't look at them superficially. That's a klippa. It's just a shell. Thank you. Till we meet again tomorrow.
Thank you, Rosa.